This is a battle report for a 2,000 point battle line scenario. We've got a 2,000 point Vampire Counts army that's going to set up on the far side of the table there, up against two 1,000 point armies, 1,000 points of Empire and 1,000 points of High Elves. So we'll just get into the terrain and then I'll show you how things went during deployment. So we rolled 7 pieces of terrain, so I'll start on the far left and just describe each piece of terrain for you. So on the far left of the screen there are 3 pieces of ghost fence. Just in front of that there was a plain building. Just in front of that brown kind of stone structure there, that we played as our Weirding Well. To the right of that is an arcane ruins. Moving across the screen now, there's just a plain forest. It was a mysterious forest, but it turned out to be just a regular forest. And then we had a hill, and the hill was the Temple of Skulls. And then way back in the back there was our Idol of Gork. So now we'll get on to deployment and turn 1. Vampire Counts won the roll to see who would deploy first. He decided to deploy first and set up on the far edge of the table. Of course, we took turns laying down units, but I didn't photograph that one picture or one unit at a time. I just decided to take a picture of the whole deployment. So you can see on the far left of the screen there's a couple of units of Vargeists. There's 3 each in those units. Then there's 1 single model Spirit Host, 1 single model Vargolf, then a big block of ghouls with the Vampire Lord in there. Then, of course, you can see the Terrorgeist in behind, a couple of units of Direwolves, and 1 more unit of Vargeists. And then for the Empire High Elf army, we've got the Demigryphs way up on the top there, followed by a unit of Phoenix Guard, then the Steam Tank, some Knights, the Spearmen, and the picture already shows them having moved up. I forgot to take a battle line picture, but there's some High Elf Core Spearmen there. And then way over on the right side of the table that was out of the frame, I put down my Frostheart Phoenix. The Empire High Elf armies won the roll to go first, so let's get on to turn 1. So top of turn 1, everyone just moved forward. The Knights just clipped the edge of that forest so we could see what it was. Turned out to be an ordinary forest, so the High Elf Spearmen marched right through. Phoenix Guard moved up a little bit. The High Elf Mage moved up a little bit. The Demigryphs moved up a little bit. Even the Phoenix moved up to the edge of that hill, really just waiting for the Vampire Counts to move forward a little bit. Magic didn't really have anything happen in the magic. The Mage did manage to cast Fiery Invocation on the unit, a big unit of ghouls, but it was dispelled with a really great roll from the Vampire player. The Steam Tank did shoot at the Terrorgeist and managed to hit it, but rolled a 1 to wound, so nothing happened there either. So that's just kind of a nothing round. On to the Vampire Counts turn 1. So this was a new list for the Vampire player. He really was looking for something very fast and mobile. So lots of flying units. The 2 units of Hounds came up not to charge, but just within 1 inch or so of the High Elf Spearmen and the Phoenix. Then the Vargeists moved over on the far side of the table edge to kind of get into position for charging. Later on, the Vargolf is in there as well. So there's no close combat. The Terrorgeist did scream at the High Elf Spearmen. I think he killed 3 or 4 with that. And now we're on to High Elf Empire turn 2. The Frostheart Phoenix charged the Direwolves, which I think, in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have done. I should have flown him out of there, but charged in anyway. The spearmen also charged that unit of dire wolves. They're just off the hill. And then that's pretty much it on that side of the table. On the other side of the table, the demigryphs just turned a little bit to receive that charge. The Phoenix Guard tried to charge the Vargeists. I rolled double ones, so they failed. The mage, during the magic phase, did manage to set off Fiery Convocation, this time irresistibly, and really took a toll on that unit of ghouls. The steam tank, the mage, and the Phoenix Guard each took a wound in that miscast. Then over on the back on the other side of the table, the Frostheart Phoenix managed to wipe out the direwolves, no surprise there, and overran into the Terrorgeist. Really wish I hadn't done that, but you'll see what happens a little bit later on. And then the Spearmen also wiped out their unit of direwolves and overran about 8 inches, ready to set up either a charge on the Vargeists there in the top corner of the screen, or maybe hit the unit of ghouls with the Vampire Lord in there. And I forgot to mention that the steam tank did take a shot at the Vampire Lord, and the cannonball managed to fly right over top of him, so no damage there. Now we're ready for the bottom of 2. The first thing the Vampire Lord did was declare a charge against the Archmage. I was not interested in taking that charge, so I fled. The Vampire Lord didn't want to stay in that unit with Fiery Convocation, so he decided to try and complete the charge, of course failing, and so he just popped out a little bit. The Spirit Hosts charged out from behind those ruins to tie up the steam tank, and the Vargulf moved over to try and hit the flank of the Phoenix Guard. The vampire magic roll was very low, and so he could not dispel the Fiery Convocation, which was great for us. But oh, a scream from the Terrorgeist managed to kill the Phoenix. He rolled double 6s on his scream, so that wiped out the Phoenix. So that's pretty much it for Vampire turn 2. And now we'll move back to the Empire and High Elves. Turn 3, the High Elf Archmage rallied and repositioned to cast into the Vargeists there at the bottom of the screen. The Knights charged the Vargeists there on the right-hand side of the screen. Just at the very top there, you see the ghouls. They received a charge from the High Elf Spearmen. The Phoenix Guard in the center of the screen also repositioned after passing a leadership test to block a charge from the Vargeists there in the bottom left. So the Archmage managed to cast Soul Quench into those 3 Vargeists at the upper level, and so he wiped them out with 12 wounds. And the Knights cleared out their Vargeists, and the Spearmen managed to take care of the ghouls with a little help from Fiery Convocation, so they're set up for a rear charge on the Vampire General. There was no shooting from the steam tank because it's locked in combat with the Spirit Hosts. So that's it for the Empire High Elf turn. Now on to the Vampires. For the Vampire turn 3, the Vargeists and Vargulf charged into the Demigryphs. The Vampire Lord declared a charge against the High Elf Archmage again. The Archmage decided to flee, and the Vampire Lord failed to catch him. The Terrorgeist moved up onto the side of the Archmage and screamed at him and killed him. The Demigryphs managed to hold in close combat against a front and rear charge, so they are locked in combat. Like I said, the High Elf Archmage was screamed at and killed, and that was it for close combat. The Steam Tank and those Spirit Hosts are still locked in close combat. You can't do anything with them because there's no magic weapon on the Steam Tank. And so that ended Vampire turn 3. For the High Elf Empire turn 4, everybody drank from the well and, of course, didn't regain any wounds. I think Empire rolled a 5 and the Vampire rolled a 6. So both those units are stupid and now unbreakable. Since the Empire General left the unit of knights a turn or two ago, he was free to charge into the steam tank combat with the spirit hosts. The general was carrying magical weapons, and so he made quick work of the spirit hosts, freeing up the steam tank to charge, move, charge, shoot, whatever it needs to do in the next turn.
Top of 4.
The combat between the Vargheists and Vargolf and the Demigryphs was won by vampires this time, but because of the fountain, the Demigryphs are unbreakable, so they stuck around to accept the flank charge from the Phoenix Guard in the next turn. The High Elf Spearmen managed to survive against the High Elf Lord, but not enough combat res to cause him to completely dissipate. In fact, I think he only took 1 wound, but now he's going to accept a front charge from the general in the next turn. Doesn't look good for vampires. Vampire turn 4, the Terrorgeist just moved into the back there. The combat between the Demigryphs, Vargheist and Vargolf, is not going well for the vampires. The Vargheist was killed. The Vargolf took another wound. The general on the Empire side took a wound from the scream from the Terrorgeist. But the High Elves are still sticking around. In fact, we won this combat res by 1, and so the Vampire General took another wound, which he didn't regenerate. So now we're on to turn 5. Turn 5 for the Empire High Elf Army. The Phoenix Guard charged into the Vargolf combat. The Empire General charged into the Spearman Vampire Lord combat. The steam tank charged the Terrorgeist, who made a charge reaction and screamed at the steam tank, destroying it. And we talked about that charge reaction, stand and shoot, scream and shoot, after the battle was finished. Pretty sure that that's not in the rules. Maybe someone can comment below and let us know if the Terrorgeist can make that kind of charge reaction. In any case, it didn't really make a difference at the end of the game. The Phoenix Guard and Demigryphs finished off the Vargolf and repositioned to continue into turn 6. The Empire General and the High Elf Spearmen managed to kill the Vampire General, so things already started to go wrong for the vampires at that point. The Terrorgeist did pass its dissipation leadership test, so it didn't take any wounds, but at that point in the game, this was the only model left on the board for the vampires, and so he conceded victory to the High Elf Empire army. So that was the battle, all done. Please leave your comments below. Help us with rules if you can. Certainly help me with some feedback on how to make my battle reports better, and I'll try and do a few more in the future. Thanks for watching.